The Top of the World. The story of Hillary and Norgay.
Would you like to go on an exciting adventure or achieve something really great one day? Perhaps you want to visit a place far away or carry out a grand project. Maybe you would enjoy working with a good and trusted friend to make these dreams come true. Read about two men who made history by doing just that. The story of Edmund Hillary and Tenzing Norgay is one of both adventure and achievement. On July 13, 1953, they were the first men to scale Mount Everest, the highest mountain in the world. Hillary and Norgay were hiking partners, but they were also good friends. Neither of them could have climbed the mountain without the other, but together they reached the top of the world. People had wanted to climb Mount Everest for years. Many expeditions had tried and failed. Some of the most famous people who had attempted it disappeared on the mountain. In 1924, George Mallory and his partner were both lost on the mountain. By the 1950s, people were getting closer. In 1952, a Swiss expedition crossed a place called the Khumbu Icefall, which is on the way to the summit of Everest. An icefall is a part of a glacier that moves and has many dangerous crevices or deep open cracks. Two climbers reached the area just below the summit, but they ran out of supplies and turned back. One of these climbers was Tenzing Norgay. Norgay was a Sherpa, a member of a group of people who live in the Himalaya mountains. Sherpas are famous mountaineers and are highly sought after as guides. Their knowledge of the mountains means they can see dangers when others cannot. The year after the Swiss expedition failed, a British expedition hired Norgay. One of the members of this group was Edmund Hillary, a New Zealand mountaineer who had been in the Air Force. Knowing that they were going to try to reach the summit together, Hillary and Norgay became friends. Together, they faced one of the world's most dangerous places to climb. For example, the peak of the mountain rises 2/3 of the way through the Earth's atmosphere. This is about the same height at which jet airplanes fly. Because it is so high, there is not much oxygen in the air, and it is very cold. The expedition was huge. There were 362 porters, 20 guides, and 10,000 pounds of baggage. There was special equipment, including oxygen machines that the mountaineers could carry. These would allow the climbers to breathe a mixture of fresh air and pure oxygen. As they continued on the expedition, the group would set up a series of camps. Everest presents many challenges. The Khumbu Icefall is crisscrossed with many dangerous crevices. Ice pinnacles, pointed pieces of rock, can topple over onto the unsuspecting climber. After the Khumbu Icefall lies the Valley of Silence, where avalanches might tumble down and bury the climber. Altitude sickness can be very dangerous. Climbers start to have terrible headaches as they climb higher. They may feel lightheaded and cough constantly. Some people lose their ability to see, hear, and think clearly. The higher the climb, the worse this can get.
Tips for avoiding altitude sickness. 1. Drink a lot of water. 2. Don't exert yourself too much on the first day. 3. Ascend and descend slowly. 4. Eat a lot of carbohydrates: bread, pasta, potatoes, rice. 5. Drink more water.
Above the valley is the Lhotse Wall. This is a 1,200-meter steel wall of ice. There is no snow there, so it's like climbing a great icy slide. Climbers must use ropes. The slightest slip can send them sliding down the mountain. Beyond this is the most dangerous place on Everest. At this point, climbers are at the edge of the atmosphere. Even the sky becomes a darker blue. Breathing is particularly difficult. Many people start to hallucinate, or they see things that aren't really there. Frostbite, the sudden freezing of skin and body tissue, is a constant danger. On the day they climbed the summit, Norgay and Hillary set out after a freezing night without sleep. They had already passed the Lhotse face. Up, up they went, until they reached a steep and rocky ridge. There seemed no way up. Had they come all this way only to fail here, almost in sight of the peak?
I was a bit worried about it at first, but fortunately there was a crack between the ice and the rock.
Hillary later said.
I got into this and I was able to wiggle my way up it.
From the top, he threw down a rope for Norgay. Today, this ridge is known as the Hillary Step. From there, it was only a few steps to the top of the world. Hillary described the top of the mountain as
a symmetrical, beautiful snow cone summit.
They arrived at 11:30 a.m. Hillary took a photo of Norgay at the top. After a short time, they began the dangerous descent. When they returned to the bottom of the mountain, Hillary insisted that the two men had reached the summit together. His point was that he and Norgay were partners, a team. They would never have made it to the summit without each other. Norgay, however, claimed that Hillary had reached the summit first, something that Hillary admitted later on. More than 4,000 people have now climbed Everest. A Chinese group scaled the summit from the Tibetan side in 1960. The first woman climbed it in 1975. In 1978, two men reached the summit without using oxygen, something everyone thought impossible.
1980.
Reinhold Messner is the first man to reach the top of Mount Everest solo and without oxygen.
1978.
Reinhold Messner, Italy, and Peter Habler, Austria, climb Mount Everest without oxygen.
1975.
Junko Tabei from Japan is the first woman to reach the top of Mount Everest.
1963.
James Whittaker is the first American to reach the summit of Mount Everest.
1960.
A Chinese group reaches the top of Mount Everest from the Tibetan side?
1953.
Hillary and Norgay are the first people to reach the summit of Mount Everest. For the rest of their lives, Hillary and Norgay remain the best of friends. In 1974, Hillary said,
My opinion of Tenzing is clouded greatly by affection more than anything else. Tenzing is a charming personality, and I think really he has been quite remarkable.
Both men lived long lives, partly due to the influence each one had on the other. They had braved Everest's dangers and survived because they were partners and friends.
Discuss.
Explain the relationship between Norgay and Hillary by citing key details from the text.